Greetings, Dr. Wolfula here to present a very important special audio presentation that your ears cannot dare unlisten to. Does that make sense? Oh, it doesn't matter. Listen to this.
Welcome to someone's favorite movie. I'm coming to you from the Podcheck outside beautiful Bay City, Michigan. My name is Randy, and with me is a blues brother. And I call him a blues brother because, man, he really gave me the blues when he suggested this movie. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the man, the myth, the legend, one Mr. Tomka. What is up, sir? How are you?
Oh, before I start anything, I gotta say, I love you, John Belushi. I love you.
What about Jim? You like that Jim Belushi?
There's a warm place in my heart for him.
Okay, all right.
But I love John Belushi.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I don't really have much experience with a John Belushi. I've seen Animal House, obviously. I've seen the Blues Brothers, but that really is it for me.
You never seen Neighbors?
No.
Oh.
Oh,
okay.
I take that back. I have seen Neighbors starring Seth Rogen and Rose Byrne and Zac Efron. Yeah, no. I did see that movie.
Okay, that's another Neighbors.
Oh, okay.
Add it to the list. We have to watch Neighbors starring John Belushi, Dan Aykroyd, Kathy Moriarty. That's a dark movie.
I would love to watch the infamous flop 1941 starring John Belushi.
I've watched it. It sucks.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Well, spoilers, Tomko. Jesus.
So, yeah, before we get too far into this, I am a lifelong John Belushi adorer. That man was a genius that, thanks to his own stupidity, was cut off way too short.
Yes. And before you, dear listener, are like, WTF are you talking about? We're covering the movie Wired today. It's a 1989 film, and I use that term loosely, about the life and times of one John Belushi, adapted from a book by journalist Bob Woodward, a noted, famous journalist.
Very noted.
He, along with fellow journalist Carl Bernstein and the Washington Post, reported on the Watergate scandal, and thanks to tips from his anonymous source, Deep Throat, yes, named from the movie after that very same movie which you're thinking about, which actually just celebrated a anniversary the other day, believe it or not. And that whole scandal ultimately led to the resignation of one President Richard Nixon.
Yes.
And the movie, All the President's Men.
Movie has pedigree.
Yeah. The movie All the President's Men was based on this, and Bob Woodward was played in the movie by one Robert Redford. I ain't seen this Bob Woodward cat, but I guarantee he doesn't look like no Redford.
No. I'm willing to bet he looks a lot more like J.T. Walsh.
Probably so.
Yeah. So, I'm going to get this right out of the gate. I hate this movies. I hate it so much.
Now, you had asked me if I was aware of the book, and I have it. I bought it at a library book sale for 50 cents, 25 cents, something like that.
You overpaid.
Okay. Yeah. You've read the book, right? Or tried to?
I've read it twice.
Okay. Wait, was it a failed attempt the first time, or you were like...
No.
Okay.
I read it in the 6th grade, and I read it in the 12th grade.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It did not improve.
It didn't improve with 6 years worth of reflection.
Yeah, because I have to admit, I have the utmost respect for Bob Woodward as a journalist. But there's more to John Belushi than cocaine.
Yeah, that was the criticism of the book when it came out, that it was all about the drugs and pretty much nothing else.
Yeah.
And it was all about the bad times with the drugs and nothing else. I saw something today, interview with Judy Belushi that was done around the release time of the book in 1984, and she said that Mr. Woodward portrayed drugs in a completely negative light. He never talked about the fun times with the drugs that me and John had. Which is kind of a, I don't know.
I have to admit, I'm going into this in a completely ignorant state. I don't know a lot about drugs. I don't know a lot about the creative process. Sorry, folks.
God damn it, Tomko. You were You need to step up your research game. You knew we were doing this movie. You had to do all the cocaine and the heroin beforehand, okay?
But there's more to John Belushi than just the drugs. There really is. But not according to this movie.
Not according to this movie. Not according to the biography. I guess Bob Woodward he did some memorable things, and he's had a long tenured career full of accolades, but he's also had his stuff criticized over the years because he was alleged to exaggerate or completely fabricate stories and anecdotes about his subject matter.
Yeah, that definitely shines through.
Yeah, I mean, that was a criticism of his book, Wired, and that fictional spirit is carried right on to this movie with the volume turned right up to 11. Hell, does that volume go up to 12? We'll turn that up to 12 because, geez Louise, who thought this was a great idea?
Well, apparently not Dan Aykroyd.
Dan Aykroyd wasn't a fan. He called it trash and garbage, and
he ruined many a career because of this movie,
including Michael Chiklis. We'll get to that.
Yes. So, I mean, I'm going to lay it out on the table. John Belushi is a comedic hero of mine. I mean, this man, he really, I mean, I don't really like to use this word because it's overused, but this man was a genius. This is a guy who at one point had the number one movie, the number one television show, and the number one album in the country. That's not an easy feat to brag about. But according to this movie, it's all about the coke and a little bit of heroin.
When I said this movie was a bad idea, I don't necessarily believe that the idea of a Belushi biopic is an awful idea. I don't think it is.
Absolutely not.
I mean, it's all about the way it was done, right? Well, there's an Elvis biopic coming out pretty soon, and I'm sure it's going to be rather straightforward. With most biopics, you can pretty much figure out that the material is going to be pretty much predictable and more or less a reasonably accurate depiction of the person's life. And occasionally they'll be packed with those questionably ridiculous, cringeworthy winks at the audience. Like, this is probably not a scene in this Elvis movie, but if it features him asking a girl out, it might go like this. Hey, mama, why don't you go out with me to the local malt shop? And she responds, I just saw you on a date last night with some other girl. Oh, Elvis, you ain't nothing but a hound dog. Because
you know what? That springs forth.
Yes. It's that cringeworthy. I Walk the Line was a popular biopic when it came out about Johnny Cash, but it was peppered with all these references to his songs and possible inspirations of titles and whatnot. And it was all bullshit.
Yep.
But I can deal with that.
Okay, but Walk the Line at least presented Johnny Cash as a person.
Yes.
Wired presented John Belushi as nothing. Granted, it's a worthy subject, but they presented him as nothing. Absolutely nothing but a cautionary tale.
Right. Well, and also they had a weird narrative device. Now, imagine again, if you will, this Elvis biopic that's coming out soon. And imagine that it takes an artistic leap of magical realism, which is a phrase that Tomko loves. So I'm bringing it back, baby. And it brings back that magical realism and it mixes it with a huge bowl of peyote. And it has the toilet that Elvis died on narrate the entire story of the king's life. And that's effectively what Wired tries to do. It tries to take the bold risk of jumping out of a plane with an umbrella and wondering why it ends up a bloody, unrecognizable mess. It's a disaster.
Yes. Yes. I think not only did they do a disservice to the subject matter of the movie, but they did a massive disservice to the movie itself. They did a disservice to the actors. This is how not to make a biopic.
And you know what you're in for right off the bat, because the opening scene is literally a black screen, and there's a voiceover saying, you know who we should get for this movie? John Belushi. Leo, he's dead. I know everyone's made lousy movies. Who hasn't made a stiff every now and then? No, you don't seem to understand me. John Belushi is really dead. That's how the movie starts.
Yes.
I didn't make those lines up.
It's worth pointing out that this movie was released not too long after Belushi died. 7 years.
Yeah. Soon enough.
He was still fairly fresh in the public conscious at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know, they had an opportunity, and not only did they squander it, but they really tainted his legacy with this. Because this man was so much more than drugs.
Well, and that's what this biopic seems to focus on. All the drugs, all the horrific bad things about his life for the most part. And
yes, that is absolutely a part of the story, but that's not all.
Yeah, like he's a dick, and he gets into fights with management, and he might be a unrepentant racist. And boy, does he love all the drugs, but you never get an insight into his creative process. You never get an insight of his childhood and what drove him to do comedy. There's none of that.
No. Honestly, this might be the first review where I'm actively and willingly angry.
Well, and rightfully so, because the movie starts after that voiceover with John Belushi waking up from the dead in the morgue.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you choose to do this? Now,
that was the 80s.
Now, I'm not saying there might be a good movie in here. However,
there's absolutely a good movie. Absolutely.
And I think you could do this movie with that premise where a man wakes up from the dead and, well, I mean, he's still dead, and he gets a guardian angel to drive him around who has the worst Puerto Rican accent I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And basically they do the whole Christmas Carol thing, where John Belushi is Uncle Scrooge. I always, in my mind, always think of the Scrooge McDuck Disney version of A Christmas Carol when I think of it.
You can't help it.
I can't help it. But he plays the Ebenezer Scrooge role, and he's being shown how his behavior has affected other people, just like Scrooge. However, there's no chance at redemption at all because, one, he's dead, and two, here's the most important thing, he's not a fictional character. He's a real person.
With a real widow, with real friends who are going to be affected by this movie.
Yes. Could you do this movie with a fictional character and have it work? Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying this movie is a masterpiece, even taking out the fact that it's about John Belushi and substituting some fictional substitute, but I think it would work a lot better if it was some random comedian who was a jerk and OD'd, and it could serve as a cautionary tale, and it could be fun and enjoyable. But the fact that it's about a real live person and a beloved comedian really just weighs it down and makes it seem so fucking gross.
Yeah, and you know what? That's the word to describe this movie. It's gross. It really is, because I don't know. It just, this movie is it's an ass wipe of the entire life.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from what I understand, it really, I guess, killed a lot of careers.
I mean, how could it not?
I know that Michael Chiklis, who did as best he could with what he was given between the script and the direction. He did as best he could, but he could not get any work after this movie. J.T. Smith, who portrayed Bob Woodward, was literally fired.
J.T. Walsh.
Okay, you're right. J.T. Walsh. He was fired from a Dan Aykroyd movie because he took part in this movie.
Yes, I did see that.
And you know what? I can't blame Dan Aykroyd too much for that. Yeah, kind of a dick move, but it was understandable.
Which is ironic, because I think the dude that plays Dan Aykroyd in this movie is probably the best actor. Well, he gives the best performance in this movie, I think. I could see him as a Dan Aykroyd, I guess.
I could see him as Dan Aykroyd, but I got to give all kinds of credit to Michael Chiklis. That dude should have been a singer.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I thought he was awful.
Really?
Yeah, I did.
That last scene where he was impersonating Joe Cocker with You Are So Beautiful, that was amazing.
That was okay, but like the rest of it was not.
All right. Michael Chiklis, he can sing very, very well, given the right direction, the right material. I think he has it in him to be a really good singer. Michael Chiklis is actually a really good talent.
I would. Oh, okay. I mean, I don't think it shows in this movie. That's all I'm going to say.
That's fair. I'm just glad that we got the Shield.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Is that fair?
Yes, absolutely. He went on to have a great career. I saw an interview with him, probably conducted a few years ago. It was with the Archive of American Television. I saw it on YouTube, and he talked about Wired, which is a bold thing to talk about. And he said that it was the first movie he ever auditioned for. And
yeah, I mean, this is a guy who's just trying to make a living.
And that's what he said. He was like fresh out of school, and he's trying to get a job, in the business that he loves. And apparently he said it took him 3 years and about a dozen auditions to land this role. So he gets it, and he thinks it's this huge, incredible break because he's working with an Academy Award-winning producer. He's finally in the business. But he had no idea about the controversy that was surrounding the making of the movie because he was so young and naive, he said. And about 2 months in the project, he realized that everybody that had been in John Belushi's sphere was horrified by the project and basically wanted everyone involved with it to be blackballed. And, he said that he spent a long time trying to get another audition when before he could get an audition, no problem, but he went about 6 months to a year without anybody responding to his inquiries whatsoever.
Which, I mean, it's kind of shitty, but I mean, given that environment, it's kind of understandable.
He clawed his way back. He made a bunch of guest appearances. He was on Seinfeld. He did the show The Commish.
Underrated.
Yeah. Eventually he did the much acclaimed The Shield,
which is frankly a masterpiece in acting.
It is. And you know what? People are forgetting about The Shield.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about Breaking Bad, you talk about The Wire.
Yeah.
The Shield is kind of forgotten, but holy shit, Chiklis did a fucking masterclass in that that role.
Yeah, and it belongs in the same universe as Breaking Bad and The Wire.
Absolutely.
It's right along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
And he was also the ever-loving blue-eyed thing in the Fantastic Four movies, the two ones that are tolerable, not the other one. Also not the Roger Corman one.
But I mean, I don't know. I just feel like I need to stand on a soapbox with this movie. There's more to John Belushi than just the drugs. There's more. I mean, this man influenced so many people. And to see him reduced to just a cautionary tale, that's bullshit.
Yeah. And to me, the movie looks, now understand that the only version of this movie that exists is a VHS rip on YouTube. That's really
Which
shitty.
Deserves.
Yeah. But also the movie looks really cheap, taking that into account. The movie looks really cheap. And I wonder, because I looked and the budget of this movie was $13 million. I wonder where all that money went to.
You're shitting me.
Right? I wonder where that movie went to.
Whoa.
That money went to.
$13 million in $1989?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's like a fucking Marvel movie or something. And they didn't even have like the rights to SNL, like all the Saturday night.
Because Lauren Michaels said, "Fuck you." There's more to John Belushi than this.
Exactly. So all the little skits in this movie are just made up bullshit that never existed. They're not characters he ever played. They're, I don't know, close approximations, I guess, but not really.
I don't know. I mean, this movie, it's, to me, this is just, every movie I think is the result of multiple decisions that are made throughout the creative process. And this movie is what you get when all of those decisions are wrong.
Yeah. I mean, how many people had to sign off on this? And they were like, yep, let's do this. Let's keep going.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want to go through the plot of this?
Yeah, I mean, because that's where all the outrage lies, right? Because, like we said, it begins with him waking up in the morgue, not realizing he's dead. He's a ghost or spirit or whatever, and he gets picked up by a self-proclaimed guardian angel named Angel with the aforementioned horrible Puerto Rican accent. He picks him up in a cab and he takes him to the Chateau Marmont where he sees he sees that he died the previous night. And after that, the guardian angel takes him through his life and the mistakes he made because of drugs. It's like a huge Dare commercial.
And you know what? I have to admit, thank you, John Belushi. I do not want to experiment with cocaine or heroin. I will give you that.
It did work. However, You didn't need this movie to know that it worked, right?
Correct. But I mean, it completely skipped over who John Belushi was. Growing up, the son of immigrants, working his way up through the comedy circuit, through Second City. I don't know who John Belushi is watching this movie, other than an OD.
No, you only get a few light moments in this movie. I say light, but it's got a weird tone to it. It tries to be a comedy.
Does it?
I don't know. It seems to want to try to be funny at certain points. There's a part near the end of the movie where John is back in his body, his spirit, as it's getting as an autopsy is being performed, and he's seeing his heart being taken out and stuff, and
Michael Chiklis is using these bizarre, I think that's the only word to describe it, bizarre facial contortions.
Yes, he's going apeshit because
he's having his heart and liver ripped out.
He's witnessing his own autopsy, and it hurts, and the guardian angel's like, "Oh, it's not that bad," and
be strong.
It's very questionable. And then he ends up in a body bag, and because his coffin won't fit into a private plane, so they put him in a body bag and strap him to a seat, and he's bopping up and down in the body bag saying, "Come on, guys, let me out. This isn't a funny joke. Ha, ha, ha."
Which, I mean, I have no doubt that that's exactly what happened due to the circumstances, but I don't know. I'm just trying to look at this through the prism of, do I want my death to define my life?
Yeah, you can't use it as a comedic event. If that really happened, cool, but to make light of it, like, this isn't Weekend at Bernie's. This was a real person.
Yeah, exactly. This is somebody who people loved. This is somebody who mattered on a larger than average scale. God damn, what were they thinking?
I have no idea. Like, it's one thing to have the book, which sensationalizes his drug use and focuses on that. But it's another to adapt that material into the piece of shit that this is, with the weird tone and questionable choices. Like, I know Bob Woodward wasn't writing about John Belushi's ghost witnessing his heart being ripped out of his corpse.
And the sad thing is for damn near 40 years, this was the only cinematic legacy of Belushi as a person. You know?
Yeah.
It's wrong. Because, I mean, this is a guy that made millions of people laugh. This is somebody who was loved on a personal level, and to just reduce into this, it's just scuzzy.
It is scuzzy. And you think about it, this could have been some teenager's first introduction into John Belushi when the movie came out. Right? I mean, because, you know, if you're born in a certain time, you might not know who Belushi was. Just like kids today don't know who Chris Farley is necessarily. It's.
I'm barely old enough to remember John Belushi in the present. And even then, I mean, I was 4 when he died.
Yeah.
I remember when he died, but even then, that dude was just such a presence. And to see him boiled down to this, it's just, no, it's wrong.
Well, I'm sure a lot of fans had the same feeling. Like, the person I remember loving in the 80s when I was growing up, and I was old enough to remember and appreciate and love his comedy and the movies he was in, was John Candy. I loved John Candy so much. And when he died, I was like, oh my God, what is this world? Like, I was in 5th grade, maybe 6th. And it just rocked me. I had no idea. You think of these people as like untouchable and immortal. And
okay, but this is like having a movie about John Candy eating nothing but bacon and pork chops.
Exactly. That's the if these filmmakers made the John Candy biopic, that's what it would be. Just him on a throne of mutton chops and a throne of mutton, and just shoving his face with chicken legs and gravy.
Doing shots of gravy.
Yeah, I mean, and that would be the entire essence of who John Candy was, is just a gravy boat. And that's not fair. It's not accurate. And neither is this movie.
But I mean, I can't necessarily blame them, because I'm guessing you're maybe a little too young to remember the late 80s. Am I correct in that?
No, I remember the late 80s somewhat. I mean,
Okay.
depending on what it was. A lot of my formative movie years happened in the late 80s.
So every time you go out in a grocery store and you're checking out and you're looking at the various magazines that are right there,
Sure.
it's the Weekly World News. It's
Yes, legendary.
Yes, it's the National Enquirer.
Yeah.
It's all these tabloids. That's what this movie is.
Oh,
It's all
yeah.
the surface level. It's not talking about who the person is. It's not talking about the people that he touched. It's not talking about the influence that he had beyond himself. It's just tabloid journalism. It's scuzzy.
It really
I mean-
is.
And I mean, I'm trying to. I'm really digging to find something good to say about this movie, and the most I can say is I appreciate the editing, how it's kind of confusing,
Okay.
where you're switched from a diner to a cab, and you're placed in the point of view of Belushi, who's post life. But beyond that, it's offensive.
It takes the rather interesting, in the end, it takes a rather interesting choice of placing Bob Woodward basically in the same hotel room as John Belushi when he died. And
Yeah.
it's like the scene where Walter White, you brought up Breaking Bad, watches Jane, Aaron Paul's girlfriend, Jesse's girlfriend, die of an OD in her bed and does nothing about it. It's like the same effect. Bob Woodward
But Bob Woodward is supposed to be an impassive observer.
Okay.
In this movie, he is presented as, oh boy, this can really make my word rate go up.
Sure, but what a weird choice.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, this movie, the only way I can really describe it is it's wrong.
That's not even taking into account the fact that before that, John Belushi's spirit engages in a pinball game with the guardian angel on a Blues Brothers pinball machine for the fate of himself. If Belushi wins, he gets his life back.
Now, am I being a hypocrite by saying I kind of wish I had a Blues Brothers pinball game?
No, you're not, because I looked at that and I'm like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Now, speaking of the angel, have you ever did any research on Ray Sharkey?
No, not at all.
He died 30 odd years ago of AIDS. God bless him. But he was one of those AIDS victims who decided that, you know what, if I'm going to go out with it, I'm going to take as many people out with me as I can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, kind of scuzzy.
So he would knowingly give people AIDS?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Just another layer to this movie.
Ugh. That's awful.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of weird how a cautionary tale about John Belushi turned into a cautionary tale of how not to make a movie. Am I off base on this?
No, not at all. This is just a travesty of a movie. It's not even. I don't. It's not fun in any way, shape, or form.
Well, I do still enjoy Michael Chiklis' singing.
I mean, yeah, we're going to differ on that, but okay. You buy yourself a Michael Chiklis soundtrack
I will
album.
go on Amazon and buy a Michael Chiklis blue CD.
Go own the soundtrack to the movie Wired. You'd be the only person in America.
Michael Chiklis is a good singer.
Prove it. I want you to prove it. Get him on the show and have him sing me a song. That's the only way I'll believe it.
You know what? I will send you that last clip of, You Are So Beautiful. That was a good performance.
I watched that last clip. I was not moved to tears.
Really? You weren't moved at all? Not alone to tears?
Well, maybe it was too little too much. I was probably just disgusted from the rest of the movie to even care.
Okay, but if you watch that on its own, it's actually pretty damn good.
Okay, well, unfortunately, this movie isn't 3 minutes long, so I can't watch it on its own.
All I'm saying is I'm glad Michael Chiklis got out of this alive.
Yeah, God bless him.
Is that fair?
I guess it's fair. It's not his fault.
No, I do not blame the actors in this movie for anything to do with this movie.
I'm going to blame Ray Sharkey, though, because he seems like a real douche canoe.
Yeah, he's an asshole.
Yeah.
And you know what? The directors, the writers, the producers, fuck them. But Michael Chiklis, he's okay in my book.
Yeah, Michael Chiklis is fine. Oh, man. The guy that wrote the screenplay was responsible for writing The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension.
No shit!
Yeah, wow, look at this. He created Buckaroo Banzai. It was a book first, and then he wrote the movie. Huh.
Did he need to work?
Apparently. I mean, The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai is kind of a mess, but it's an enjoyable mess. It's really fun.
I place that in the same category as Repo Man.
Yeah, I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
They go hand in hand. Yeah, as far as the director goes, this piece of trash was the last thing he ever directed. So good for you.
You know what? Never underestimate the power of blacklisting in Hollywood.
Right.
The fact that Michael Chiklis had a career after this is a fucking miracle. Because this was this was produced 5.5, 6 years after Belushi died.
Yeah.
Still a very fresh wound to those involved. Yeah, it's not a surprise that the only one that made it out alive was Michael Chiklis, and he did it by the skin of his fucking teeth.
That's for sure. I mean, the movie's never been released on DVD or Blu-ray ever. Do you think it will be?
No, nor does it deserve to be. This movie should not be preserved.
I'm just saying, we're in an era of film archivists and little film boutiques putting out Blu-rays of all sorts of things. Cool as Ice is on goddamn Blu-ray, for crying out loud.
Okay, I can understand that from an ironic point of view. I can't see that with this movie.
I can't either. I don't see any redeeming qualities to this movie.
No, I
look, and I'm a fan of a lot of weird stuff, and I've went to bat for a lot of crap on this podcast.
But when you're talking about actual people, and their loved ones, that's a different story.
Yeah, I can't go to bat for this at all. Like I said earlier, maybe if it was like a fictional tale, it would have went over better in my mind. But
yeah, if they had an analog for Belushi and maybe mix in Jim Morrison or a couple other people, I can understand that.
Oh, that would have been fun, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, but this is just it's a step too far.
It is. I mean, can you imagine like a movie in 1996 about Kurt Cobain waking up from a shotgun blast, his self-inflicted gunshot wound, and being like, "Oh, I really fucked up my life." It's the same idea. Like John Belushi was a cultural phenomenon for a long time.
I would say that among college dorm rooms, he still is.
That's true. Even though, I mean, I wonder if those kids even know what that's from and who that guy is. You know?
You know what? Animal House and the Blues Brothers, those two movies, I think, are immortal.
And they're both pretty good. I know.
Oh, they're both amazing movies.
I know people like to drag Animal House and say, "Oh, this movie's gross, blah, sex, blah."
It's supposed to be gross.
Yeah, I know. I people get a little bit too PC these days, and I get it. It's good in certain respects and bad in others.
Okay. The presentation of something does not mean the endorsement of that same thing.
Thank you very much. Some people seem to forget that. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're a creator of any sort, just because you write a character that says a certain thing doesn't make you the person that believes that thing.
Bingo.
And
it's shining a light on that point of view. It's not agreeing with it.
Yes, exactly. I think that's been lost somewhere along the way. Like, some sort of common sense when it comes to these things has been lost. Like, you can't, I don't know. Now I'm on my soapbox. You got me all riled up, Tomko.
You know what? This is I think it might be the most pissed off episode we've ever had.
Maybe so. Yeah, this movie has no redeeming qualities, and I don't recommend it to anybody. How about that?
So, I mean, what else do we want to talk about with this absolute travesty? I mean, I can't overstate this. This is a disstatement. This is wrong. This movie, and it deserves to be in the dustbin of cinematic history. I dare anybody to say this is their favorite movie.
Well, I was looking through those YouTube comments there.
Oh,
and like some people rightfully said this movie is garbage, and others were like, "Oh, this movie isn't so bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's nowhere near the worst movie ever."
I mean, there are some redeeming qualities when it comes to, again, I think Michael Chiklis is a hell of a singer. The editing was interesting, so I can't say it was completely awful.
Way to be a fan of Wired, Tomko. Way to be a fan.
Oh, fuck. God damn.
Yeah, that's the whole theme of this podcast, right? Every movie is someone's favorite, but this one,
I dare anybody to say this is their favorite movie.
Come out and claim this is your favorite movie, and I want to interview you and ask you why you're so wrong about everything.
Yes. Tell me why your favorite movie is a complete character assassination.
What does that say about you?
Exactly. Oh, goddamn. So, what else do we have on the docket, sir?
I don't know. I think that about does it for this one, huh?
I think so. I mean, watch this if you're wanting to see what not to do as a filmmaker. That's the only recommendation I can really give to this. And for the record, I'm the one that suggested this movie years ago.
Yes, this is true. This is one of the first movies you brought up. And
because I think it's worth discussing.
It is. It is. I'm glad I experienced the travesty that was Wired. And never again. I did it. I experienced it. Don't need to Don't need to go back to it.
Yeah, this is the third time I've watched it, and I think I'm done.
Yeah, you should tap out.
Yeah.
How many times?
I'm glad Michael Chiklis made it all. He's got a career. He's okay. I'm good enough.
It's good enough, ladies and gentlemen. You should be good enough too. Tell people where they can find you, Tomko.
You can find me on Twitter at The Drunken Dork. If you are still on Facebook with everything that's going on, you can find me at a little page called Jig and Tom Conquer the Group. Beyond that, I'm kind of under the radar because social media kind of sucks.
It really does.
It does.
It really does. I don't really... I'm going to start using social media again reluctantly, but... Man,
you brave fool.
I am a brave fool. Thank you for recognizing my courage and my foolishness. But you can interact with me at mretailslave on that twitter.com, on that Elon Musk's twitter.com. Also, we're trending on the Good Pods charts for some reason. We're like number 18 in film history. So
I'll take it.
Yeah, we're relevant. How about that? Who knew? I'm actually pretty impressed. We're number 18 in film history and like 85 in film reviews.
How the fuck do we do that?
I don't know. It amazes me, and I'm impressed, and I'm very proud of it because there's like 14 million movie podcasts. Yeah. So I'm all right with it. How did we do that?
I'll settle for number 18.
Yes. How did we do that? I don't know because I haven't been promoting this podcast whatsoever. So maybe it's word of mouth or world of mouth, as I tried to say. And so if that's the case, I mean, God damn, if I could talk. Keep spreading the word, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate it so much.
Absolutely. Any chance I have to talk about movies that either enthrall or piss me off, I'm all for it.
Well, I hope you get enthralled next time, Tomko, because we're covering the movie that I threatened to cover a few weeks ago, Alligator. So deal with that.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see, Tomko. We'll see what you think about this one.
Oh, fuck. All right, real quick, I have to give a shout out. If you can't reach me on Facebook, check out Cinema La Bad. It's run by my good friend Ro. He and his buddy are basically getting stoned every weekend and seeking out the absolute worst movies to comment on while inebriated. And you, sir, Mr. Randy, will be pleased to know they loved Stunt Rock.
Yeah, I mean, what's not to love about Stunt Rock?
Rowe said, and I quote, "It is a movie that delivered exactly what it promised in the title."
It's true. I mean, there was stunts and there was rock. There was definitely Stunt Rock.
Yes. So definitely give them a follow.
Yeah, you should do that.
Hell yeah.
Until then, keep spreading the good word and
don't pull a Belushi.
Don't do the what?
Ah.
Okay, that works. We'll see you next time on someone's favorite movie. Bye-bye.